Welcome to Happy Homes and Gardens. I am your host. My name is Daphne Royse. I am a real estate broker, architecture, and interior designer. Yona and Ran Yona founded Wildling Shoes in Germany in 2015 to create shoes that have never existed before. Their shoes are sustainable, breathable, durable, and recyclable, and keep your feet healthy. Yona Yona is the co-founder, and Adelina Matinca is the marketing management of the North America. Here today to share the benefit of Wildling Shoes. Hi, Yona and Adelina.
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Tell us about you and how you start Wildling Shoes.
Well, yes, my name is Anna. I'm co-founder of Wildling. I founded the company together with my husband because our kids really needed better shoes. They were used to walk barefoot a lot. And when we bought them their first shoes, they really did not want to wear them. And you could really see that it would change the way they would move. So we decided to develop a shoe that would allow them to move freely and naturally. And from that idea, Wildling was born. And today we're making shoes for both kids and adults, but shoes still with a concept of having a shoe that really allows you to walk as freely as possible and as naturally as possible.
And why your shoes is formed in a certain shapes is it beneficial to your feet?
Yes, we're trying to have a shoe that is as little shoe as necessary or as possible. So it should protect your feet, but it should not, put a shape on your feet that is not natural. So they have an anatomic shape based on a natural foot shape. They have a very thin outsole, so you can basically feel the ground while you're walking with the shoes. And we're using mainly natural materials so that you will also have a nice foot climate.
And I understand that sole is very thin. What your shoes are still very protective to your feet.
Yes, well, they will protect you from injury. Adelina has a shoe to show you. So it's really, it's very thin, it's very flexible, it's very lightweight. You can really roll it up into a small ball. It's perfect for traveling, actually, because they just don't take up a lot of space or weight. But if you walk outside, they will protect you from injury, but you will still feel the ground. So yes, it can happen that if you walk on rough stones or something, that you need to walk more carefully and that you will really feel the ground. But that, I think, is really important also for our body and senses to be connected to our environment. So, yeah.
So it sounds like you walk on the bare feet.
Yes, I mean it's more protected than that. It's not as painful as walking barefoot. My family can still all walk barefoot and they're very happy to do so. I can't. I just it really hurts my feet. So but I love walking with these shoes because it lets me. I know where I'm at. And usually now when I wear just a regular kind of shoe, I really feel disconnected from the ground. So.
And they are very light in weight.
Yes, that's true. I mean, maybe Adelina, maybe you can describe also, because for me it's quite a while ago, but maybe the first time you wore the shoes, it's a bit more recent.
Yeah. So when I first put the shoes on, immediately the feeling I got was that my toes had proper room to actually expand and feel like, they would feel like exactly what Anna said when you're walking barefoot. But I'm with Anna and I don't really like going barefoot very often. So I think the sole, the thin sole actually protecting me from the elements gives it it makes me explore a lot more than I would explore if, say, I was barefoot. Like I would go on rocks with like little seashells on it and not feel like I'm being my sole of the foot barefoot will be hurt. So I think this allows me to explore a lot more of nature and the outside and the places where I wouldn't necessarily want to be with high heels or with with bare feet. So that was the first thing, was just noticing the comfort level and the how it just basically was like, oh, you're home now. You know, it was that feeling of like no awkward hurting or anything that was tugging or additional things that I would need to put. And what I've noticed is that now I'm able to actually run in the Wildling shoes, whereas at the beginning, I was, I thought this, I think we all have this conception that we need thick soles, you know, they need to be like, we need to have a lot of cushion and whatnot. And that completely broke that concept for me down. And you totally can do this with training yourself and your feet muscles to actually evolve to that stage where you're able to do this. And you feel a lot of freedom, and it does take you back in the moment, because you are now thinking, I need to be in this moment with and be aware of your surroundings. And that's what I really cherish that. Whereas with the thick sole, you're like, I don't know, it's more about what does the podcast say, or what am I thinking now, or you know, what am I strategizing, versus look, there's the rock there, and this is the park, and this is where I am in my, you know, in this moment right now, which is quite special, I think.
I understand the thickness of the sole is between 1.5 to 3.5 millimeter. Is that part of the sole are thicker and some area are thinner? Is that how you design the sole?
No, it does have a profile so that you don't slip. But so some parts of the sole are thicker because of the profile. But overall, it's even, because when you are barefoot, your foot is just really straight, flat on the ground, right? So we don't elevate the heel or, you know, put any special cushion or anything, because that would also change your posture. Like if you have an elevated heel, your body will constantly, you know, try to correct that by, you know, by changing your posture. So yeah, this is like the same thickness on the front and in the back side of the shoe. It's a 0 drop outsole design.
I understand your shoes only use the organic resources and the material to build the shoe. Can you elaborate about the materials, where you source from, and maybe the weaving technologies you use?
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few materials that go into making of a shoe. So not all of them are organic. Actually, some of them are plastics, like the outsole is made from rubber. There's also a big part of recycled rubber in there. There's recycled cork in there, but it's a synthetic rubber. And there are also some parts in the shoe, like for durability, that are still that we haven't been able to replace with a more natural material. But we are the main parts, like the inner, you know, the lining of the shoe and the upper, they are made from textile, and also we're replacing, like one by one, other parts with a more durable natural material. So the materials that we mostly use are, for example, wool in winter, because it's just a very nice natural material that keeps you warm without sweating, and that is really, like, it's really durable. And there are a lot of like traditional old techniques of using and making wool textiles that are very special. And you can boil it for greater density, and then it's even warmer, and you can felt it, you can weave it. So there are many ways of using wool. And then we always, of course, look at where this wool comes from, so to have a good impact on the environment. So it's usually, for example, from sheep grazing biospheres. So this actually has a positive impact on the environment. And then there are also vegan alternatives or plant-based alternatives, like hemp textile, or linen, or cotton. So there are different, and we also have one material, especially for summer, that is really interesting, because it's made from a plant fiber, and then it's being turned into paper, and then from this paper, there, like, small strips of paper are being woven into a fabric. So this also has a small like a small polyester core just for more durability, but the main part of this textile is paper. So it's very lightweight, and it's very, it's just, you don't sweat in this textile. So it's perfect for summer because it's really breathable. And so we use kind of different natural materials for different functions. And we really look at what is that, that innate function of this fiber, and how can we make a textile that will be most suitable to this fiber and to the function that we want to achieve.
It sounds like you use the different materials, and the purpose is for the different climates and also different terrain.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so wool will be perfect for winter, but also, I mean, you can mix wool, for example, with other fibers, and then it can also be perfect for summer. And paper is perfect for summer, but it's, in winter it gets wet very quickly. So that's more kind of a summer shoe. And then you have cotton, and there are many different ways of, for example, of using cotton. Like you can have a very lightweight, breathable cotton lining, but we can also weave that very densely. For example, we're using recycled wool in a very densely knit fabric. So it's so that the knit is so strong that it's actually that water won't go through that fabric. I mean, you can it's not a 100% waterproof, but it's still a very good natural function against moisture and wetness. So yeah, it's really interesting to see like how all these different techniques and how all these different fibers, like they have a life of their own, and you can kind of try to not, like, we can design something, you can design a textile, we can make almost anything, right? Like, but from plastic, you can make a lot of things. From polyester, you can make a lot of things. But we prefer to look at what is there already in nature, and how can we use that in a way that, like what does this material offer, and how can we work with that?
So it sounds like it is water-resistant shoes. Will you recommend those shoes going to like a raining day, snowing day, or maybe go to the beach? Can those shoes work in those different type of weather?
Yes, I mean there are different kinds of models for different functions, and you can treat the shoes to be to be water repellent. And there's also, in the winter models, we have a membrane, which is still, I mean, this is one part that we would like to get rid of, because it is plastic. It's a polyester membrane. But we're using this right now because it gives you that function of being, of being waterproof. So yes, I mean, you can use these shoes almost anywhere. I think Adelina was out hiking with her shoes. I'm sure she has a few stories to tell of where she used them and how it worked.
Yeah, so I think, so for me personally, I love my feet are always cold. So I love having the wool version anywhere I go, because it's just perfect. It totally repels water naturally. I know that you could totally make it waterproof with our spray, but I didn't do that. And I had no problems with it in a climate with a lot of precipitation. And also, I love to use the washi paper. Anna was mentioning the natural fiber, plant fiber, the washi paper, which is thin rice paper that is used. And I love to use that because it dries extremely quickly. So I will take those shoes to the beach and not worry if I get them wet or anything, because they do in fact dry pretty quickly, and it's not an uncomfortable feeling at all. So I do take those to the beach. And then, yeah, I would say those are, and then my other favorite ones are out of the new collection this year, spring summer new collection. We partner up with a really nice collaboration we had, and those are really truly special. I view them very special. I only take them on nice days, and I love them because of the way they look. they look amazing, and they have really nice the story behind it. And then Anna could tell maybe a little bit about the collaboration. Just having that, going back to the roots of how we do things, and the grassroots of using local people and local landscape to create a collection, as well as local techniques in weaving the materials together. And I find that incredibly special. And so yeah, maybe Anna could tell a little bit more about that collaboration, because it feeds into your previous question about weaving and materials and whatnot.
Yeah, I think you're probably talking about the collaboration with the natural dyed textile from Kyrgyzstan. So yes, we looked for people, like for local, like handcrafted design and the traditional design, and to empower these women through working with them and developing their own design, and to bring that together to very special textile, and it's at the same time it's offering them employment in an area where there's really very little employment to be found. So we had some very special stories there also of women being able to to stay with their families because they found work very close to home. So we're working with them, and we're trying to continue this collaboration so that they will actually remain employed for the whole time. So they know how to do this. It's a traditional technique from the spinning to the weaving. It's all like handmade, made on looms, and then it's being naturally dyed with plants, and then and they're being paid very fairly. So that's where the value is created. Also, the value is being remunerated. So we have there's a local store here in Berlin who work a lot with handcrafts and with artisans all over the world. So we kind of hooked up with them, and we made this like a small collection together with these women. So that was a very special model in this. So it's really a handcrafted, hand woven, hand dyed, plant dyed textile. So it's a piece of art, and it's very unique because every shoe will look different, and they also change over time because the dye changes when it's exposed to sunlight. So they continue telling a very special and unique story. So
it sounds like every pair is different and unique. My curiosity is, how long will each shoes last?
Well, the shoes are really made to last. We use the best quality of anything we can find, because that's also very important. Part of sustainability is just the durability of the product. So it's a lot of handwork, and it's very careful work. And there's we never save anything on quality. So it's all the best quality that we can get. And yet it's a shoe that also has a specific function. Like it's a shoe that is supposed to be very lightweight, that is supposed to have as much natural material as possible. So of course there's also some wear and tear on a shoe specifically. Like it's a product that you just use a lot and with a lot of force. So what we're doing is to make the shoes repairable, so that if something tears or if you walk through the outsoles after a while, which really takes a while. Like we have people who ran 1,000 kilometers with their shoes and they're still doing fine. So they can stand quite some wear and tear, but you can also repair them. I mean, we can repair the shoes for our customers. It's still something that we're testing the processes, and we're still working on it, but we're able to repair any part of the shoe. And so starting from probably next year, we'll be able to also offer all kinds of repairs to the customers.
Sounds wonderful. So you're already taking care of your products. You stand behind, just make sure you have the highest quality.
Yes, definitely.
Go back to Adelina. I do have a question about the shoes, different material for different seasons. Do people actually wear thin socks before they put their feet in your shoes? Were they basically just bare feet?
I think people can do anything they want with these shoes. From a personal perspective, I do both. I think it depends on the temperature that is outside. If it's a little bit chilly, I do put socks on. If it's a summer day and I'm wearing, the thin, the going to the beach, I will not wear socks because it will take longer for the shoes to dry with another additional material within the shoe. So I just opt out from that. But yeah, you could do both. You could do based on preference. You can totally have socks or not have socks in the shoe.
Yeah, most of the shoes have a removable footbed, so you can exchange those, wash them, and and then it's always fresh inside. So I do that a lot. Like I pull them out so they will dry and like they will get fresh, and then after a few days or weeks, like depending on the temperatures outside, I'll wash them and then just replace them. And yeah, there are different materials that, like wool, for example, works pretty well to wear barefoot, and also the paper is perfect actually to wear like without socks. And then there are other materials that they might like absorb more moisture, like cotton or hemp, and those probably are better to wear with socks. So it also depends on the material again. But many of the conventional socks are also not made in an anatomical shape. So you can actually also with a sock, you can, squeeze the feet too much. So you also need to take care of, what kind of socks you'll be wearing with the shoes.
You mentioned they are washable. Are they machine washable or hand washable?
Well, we should not recommend machine wash just because people get very creative about what to do with the shoe in the washing machine. So, just to be safe, it's always better to hand wash or hand clean the shoes. But personally, yes, I do wash my shoes in the laundry. In the washing machine every now and then.
Me too.
I mean, with wool, you should always be careful. Wool can, shrink if you wash it too warm. Yeah, it's possible.
So I understand your shoes has a white toe box because you want to have room for your toe to move. Can you explain why there are any arch support?
Yes. Well, we believe, but I think that's just common knowledge, right? The more you use a muscle, the stronger it will get. And if you don't use a muscle, then it will just weaken. So an arch support will actually support your foot from underneath. So it will sit under the arch. So basically, your foot no longer has to use the muscle to keep up to keep the arch, because the arch it's just muscle holding that foot together, and it's muscle building the arch. So if you support that, it will not work with every step that you take, and then basically what happens is that the muscle can get weakened. So I mean, this is why we say we don't want to support the foot in any way, so that the foot will fully function and work as much as possible within a shoe. So that's the reason why there's no arch support, or also other support functions that will we want to let the foot do the work and get stronger while doing so.
So your shoes is good for the foot muscle to be healthy, and you mentioned that your shoes also make for kids and all the way to the adulthood. Is it recommended for any certain age to wear your shoes?
Yes, I mean, there's no limitation or restriction. Anyone can wear these shoes. For kids, usually there's hardly, I mean, they will just wear them naturally and just start running, and they will change the way they move, adapting to the shoes or going back to their natural or more natural movements very easily. So for some grown-ups, it may take a bit more training because we've, worn different kinds of shoes for a much longer time. But we do get feedback from customers that, even had like foot problems, had pain. So they are using the shoes and they are, starting to walk, and they're starting to use their muscle. You can help the feet by doing some specific exercise, for example. And many are reporting that the feet get stronger, they feel better, or they're pain-free at the end of a long day. So it's really, really nice to hear.
As a woman myself, sometimes I need to go to special events, just dress up. Would you consider to have any shoes that would design with the heels in the future?
It's always a nice question, and I totally agree. I mean, there are a few things that are more elegant than really beautiful high heels. And on the other hand, why would we want to wear them? Like, I can hardly walk in these. I cannot run. I cannot move, the way I want to move. So I'm always asking myself, like, there are many things that can make us very beautiful, but they may not be healthy. So, it just doesn't fit our philosophy. And that's why I guess we won't be able to design a high heel that is actually healthy, or will make you feel, free and good. So we're trying to do the opposite. We're trying to, to combine a flat shoe with a dress and say, why not? Like, what have we seen men walking down, next to us with high heels? No. So why should we do that? So yeah, we're trying to go back to the natural and just change what we perceive as beautiful.
And our Wildling shoes are vegan?
Yes, some of them are. We have quite a few models, especially in summer. There are many vegan models. And in winter, we add wool. We don't have leather, but we do use wool because we also think that it's one of the most sustainable materials out there that you can use. It's perfectly recyclable. I mean, we're not able yet to recycle our wool, but we're working on it, and it's a really, really good material that can easily be turned into circular material. So it's one of the most important materials for us.
You mentioned you recycle. So I heard you have a recycle program. Is this same as repair program that you mentioned earlier in the interview?
Yeah, I mean, we did a pilot right now to see, to have customers bring back shoes that they wore for a long time and that that can't be worn anymore or repaired. So we can fully recycle the outsole, and really turn it into part of our new outsole. So it's a full recycling circle. It's not a downcycling or anything. We're still working on options to recycle the other parts of the shoe. So we're not anywhere near like a 100% recycling option, but we're working on this because also now, as you said, like with a repair program, so any outsole, for example, that will be repaired and replaced, we're putting it back in the recycling cycle. And in the meantime, we're working on options to recycle and hopefully to recycle and not downcycle the other materials that we're using. But we're still working on that.
In the earlier interview, Adelina was showing us how the shoes can roll up, how flexible that you can pack for traveling. Is that a certain way that you're supposed to fold the shoes, or we can just keep them flat?
Yeah, you can. I mean, you can do anything with the shoe. You can roll it up. You can keep it flat. However, it fits better into the bag. I mean, you put the foot inside and then they have the right shape again.
I understand. I want to know, what does a certified B corporation means?
Yeah, I mean, Adelina, also, if you want to say a few things about this, you're most welcome, but I can also do that.
Sure, yeah. B Corp is a community that's basically of different brands that has gone through extensive rigorous process that takes quite a bit of time that actually do deep dives into all aspects of the business, anything from community to supply chain to, I think they even go through our records, like what we've been doing. There's different components to this process, and they basically come internally and do deep dives. And the process doesn't end with us getting, like, basically they go through it and we get a point system under each certain category. And the process doesn't stop there, because they keep re-evaluating us, so that there's basically, once at the beginning when they say, yeah, they've reached they have a certain amount of points that we're satisfied with in these different tiers, that's not enough for us to maintain the B certification. They basically come back after a couple of years and say, okay, or is it a couple of years? I think it's every year. And they say, okay, what have you done? 2 years, 3 years? Okay, 2 years. They say, where's your standpoint now? And they reevaluate to make sure that we're still at that or even doing better. But I think our internal goals is not to stay within that standard, is to even be increasingly better and go beyond what is the expected goals of this B Corp certification process. So yeah, it takes a long time, and it's very like, yeah, it's very rigorous process. So it's not something that you can just kind of apply for and answer a couple of questions and then you tick boxes and then you get the certification. It's something that you really work with them and their people with, and it's very open and transparent, and it's more of a collaboration than you're knocking on somebody's door for a certification process. But Anna was deeply involved with this, so I think she might have some stories.
Yeah, well, as I think you've already mentioned the most important things. Like it's a very thorough certification of your business action, in terms of how you treat your team, your employees, how you treat your customers, how you treat your partners, like along the supply chain, what you do for the environment or what you don't do for the environment. So, it checks how much harm you do, but also where you are actually, how responsible you are in your actions. So it's a very thorough process, and you have to do a very big assessment and reach a certain score in order to be, to be certified. And then, there's this round where they check up, and you have to provide documentation on everything, and then you receive the certification if you pass that for, I think it's 2 to 3, I think it's 3 years, maybe 2 years. I'm also not sure right now, but then you have to renew your certificate. And it's a great process because it will point you to, where you're already doing quite a lot and where you're doing quite okay, but also where, maybe you have some blank spots that you haven't looked at yet, or you can see where you can and how you can improve. So I think it's, even without the certification, it's already just, and the assessment is free. So that's a really great thing any company can do. You can do the online assessment, and then you know where you're at and what you can still improve. And so I think that's a very good, that's why we did it also. We didn't just do it for the certificate, but really because we wanted to review where we stand in the world, kind of, and what we can do better. So
good for you. Last question for you. Want to know, all your shoes are able to purchase online, and will you have any retail store that you plan coming in the future?
Well, I think, Adelina, that one is for you.
I think in the US, we're working hard right now to create a community and to focus on this idea of health and resources and how to be better for just in general for our and exchange ideas how we can improve on not only the supply chain, but how we can be even more sustainable. So I think the focus is, I think it would be is to just give what we've been asked to do, and we've gone into our own network and of influencers that we work with in our community that is already established in North America, and they've asked us to do more, to be more visible at events, to do more pop-ups that they could then join and try on the shoe and see our collection. And that's what we've been working hard, and we will continue to work hard to do and show up for. And we've had great feedback from that. So basically, we've been asked to be more visible in events, at pop-ups, and create that for the North American market. And that's what we will be focused on. In terms of a retail storefront, to be determined. Come to our community, sign up, and then you can see our what we're working on, and you could come up, and we have a lot of events that we're working on, and we often communicate that ahead of time to give people plenty of time to sign up. So I think if you sign up for our newsletter and are on top of that, and you could also, if the community feels like they would need a storefront to feel comfortable, we're always open to suggestion, and we're always open to collaborating and to getting people's feedback. So drop us an email and tell us your perspective, tell us why you know what your thoughts are, and we'll always take that into consideration regarding our next steps.
Besides Germany and US, are any other country able to purchase your shoes?
Yeah, well, we ship internationally, so we have quite a few customers from many places in the world. So yes, definitely.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Anna and Adelina, for your time today. All the information was very valuable to our listeners and was very informative.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.